Today we are visiting Loud Dam Pond, and Loud Dam Pond is a backwaters to a dam in northern Michigan that is part of the Estable River. The hydroelectric dam, which is owned and operated by Consumers Energy, has a small boat launch on it that is all gravel boat launch with no cement ramp or no dock, and we put our boat in here to do some fishing. Loud Dam Pond is named after the Loud family, who back in the early 1900s were a major timber company in northern Michigan. The Loud family also can take some credit for having a major role to play in the development of the hydroelectric dam and some of the others along the Estable River. We chose to come here today for a couple different reasons. One, it's not a terrible far drive from our cabin that we were staying at. And the other reason is everything online that we read says it's a really excellent spot to come to fish for northern pike, smallmouth bass, and even has the opportunity to maybe catch a muskie or two. Before we take off and start fishing, I had to take the opportunity to fly the drone overhead so I can take a better look at the Loud Dam and see exactly what it looks like from both sides. Aside from just the boat launch, canoers and kayakers also have the opportunity to portage their vessels on the right-hand side of the Loud Dam. Apparently there's also access to portage on the left-hand side, but from what it sounds like, it's a much steeper portage where there is an actual portage route labeled on the right-hand side. Another feature about Loud Pond that I found very interesting is that there are individual campsites located along the bank of the pond for canoers, kayakers, and even boaters to pull up to and stay the night or stay a couple nights as long as you register and pay for use in advance. That's something that you don't find very often unless there's a state forest or national forest campground located along these areas. It's really unique to the Estable River because of the Estable River Canoe Race, and they do have campsites located along the way, partially for that purpose, but also just for all of the trout fishermen that are out seeking a really great escape up in this area. You can see in the drone footage here that it shallows up really quick. The actual deepest part of the Loud Pond was right here, of course, at the dam, and it was around 32 feet deep there, and then it just shallows up super quick. You can see as the Loud Pond snakes and winds its way around that there's some islands out here, and later you'll see quite a bit of structure from trees and stumps and just dead hedge from where we timbered off years ago. The trees and the bases are still underwater. Here's a look at one of the campsites that there are located along the way. They're not much to look at from the bank, but they're certainly there, and there's certainly a great opportunity if you're looking to get away for a night or two. Maybe you're hauling in your boat, or maybe you're doing a multi-day trip down the Estable River, and this is going to be your stopping point. It took us a while to figure out where the deeper water was at. We actually had to get online and slowly download a map from the internet. Before we downloaded that map, we had no idea where we were going. We were in the middle of Loud Pond and only in 1.5 feet of water. As you can imagine, it's not easy to run your boat that shallow, especially when the weeds were on the surface. So what it turns out we had to do was figure out where the original riverbed ran, and we had to stick to the original riverbed. Not only in the shallow parts did we have to worry about the weeds, but there are just stumps and logs and debris all over the place that we could have easily ran our prop up on or just hung ourselves up on with the boat. We started off fishing along the bank, and we had absolutely no luck at first. We did run into a really devoted bunch of canoers and kayakers. It was super windy, and they were just paddling like crazy against the wind. I've been there, and I felt so bad for them, but they just kept right on going until they got to the end of their journey, and usually when I do that kind of stuff and I look back, it turns out to be a really awesome experience. We didn't catch a whole lot of fish today. It was kind of hard fishing the pond because of the wind. It was constantly blowing us away from the areas we wanted to fish, but we each did manage to land one fish apiece while we were out here, and this is my only fish for the day coming up, and I'm just going to let that play out. I managed to set up on a nice small northern pike. Definitely not a keeper, not that we would keep them anyways, but not quite legal size. He had a nice safe release and off he went. Eventually, we thought we found ourselves a nice, safe little cove. It got us out of the wind so we would quit blowing all over the place, and we were more able to control the boat. We actually dropped anchor here and we fished for quite a while. There were logs and stumps and debris all over in the water, and we thought this would be a really great spot to hook up on maybe another pike coming out from those logs, or maybe even some nice largemouth bass. I couldn't help but notice the really neat houses and cabins up along the bank, and that crazy steep bank has a stairway that goes all the way from the top to the bottom. I can't imagine building that, let alone having to walk up and down that every day to get down to your boat. But man, what a beautiful view they have looking out over this as bald eagles were flying by. Just as we were about to leave that safe little cove and start heading back to our boat launch and the vehicle, Jared started casting around one of these big old stumps that was out here, and he managed to set up on a really nice smallmouth bass. So I'm going to leave that here and let that scene play out for you guys. Needless to say, that nice 19-inch bass had a safe release back into the water. He just fought to get back in, and off he went. It was actually really neat being on the backwaters of a dam. I think I've only fished dam backwaters one or two other times in my entire life. Even though we didn't catch much fish, we had a lot of hits on these Medusa lures we were using, but I really think they were just small bass that were too small to take them big treble hooks. After a short period of time, we packed up just before dark and we went to head out. It was kind of interesting. I have only taken the boat out without a actual boat ramp one or two other times, but Jared does a great job backing up the trailer, and we just pull it right up on the trailer, and I'm not afraid of the water, so I climb right in and crank that baby up. I would definitely recommend a visit here to do some fishing, especially if you can pick a day that's not quite so windy. It's just a really scenic, beautiful place.